Kick the red, double move on the red. Yo everybody, how you doing? King Dingbat here. You know what I love to watch? You probably love to watch it too if you're an Eagle fan. I love watching the Super Bowl over and over and over again. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I love it. Now, I was watching it the other day and I started thinking to myself, man, Brady's old. He's like 40 years old, whatever. How many more years does he actually have left? And I started thinking about a lot of the older quarterbacks in the league. You know, you have Ben Roethlisberger, you have Eli, even Aaron Rodgers is over 30. How many good years do these guys really have left? And I was thinking, you know, okay, in the next 5 years, we kind of know some of the guys who are going to be the face, the quarterbacks of the NFL. You know, you're going to have guys like Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck if he could stay healthy, Derek Carr. You know, I think those guys are all reasonable guys that you're going to see carrying the league. But what happens when you get to like 8 to 10 years out? Who's going to be the face of the franchise? And when you think about that, you really got to look at the younger guys. So I compiled a list of the top 5 best young quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, these are guys that have star potential. They have the talent, I believe, to carry their team into the future, carry the NFL into the future. So when I made this list, I tried to figure out what years I should cut off. So I did it between year 1 and year 3. I think rookies that haven't played we have nothing to go on. We have no data. So I'm not going to include them. And I think once you get to your 4th year, you're kind of, I see you in your prime. So I'm looking for 1 year to 3 years played in the NFL. And so I did this list. I compiled this list. And the way I saw it and the way that I did it was I didn't just look at the player. I didn't just look and say, okay, this guy has a big arm. He has a, you know, he's very fast. He's big. He can do all these things. I didn't look at that. I tried to look at guys who have not only the talent, because a lot of these guys have talent, but you have to have the right things around you, right? Especially early on. You want guys to build up confidence. You want them to know how to play. So I looked at who their coaches are, what kind of talent they have around them, obviously production, youth, all those kind of things I took into account in making this list. So without further ado, I'm going to give you this list, and it's probably going to be controversial. Definitely some of these I know people aren't going to agree with, but this is my personal opinion. And after this is all said and done, maybe this weekend, maybe early next week, I'd like to do a live chat and discuss this and debate it. So we can do that in the future. So with that said, let's jump into this list. At number 5 on this list, I'm going to go with Jameis Winston. Now, Jameis Winston a year ago was higher on this list, I admit. And I thought that he had a down year last year. He only threw 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and he had a lot of weapons. Okay, he had Mike Evans, he had Deshaun Jackson, you know, he had O.J. Howard. He had a lot of weapons, and I thought he would have had a better year. He had a better year the year before, and I thought he took a step back. But that said, he's still only going into his 4th year this year. He's only played 3 years, and he just makes the cutoff. And he's got another running back in Ronald Jones this year they added, and I think that Tampa Bay is even better than they were a year ago, and I think that Jameis Winston still deserves to be on this list because I think with the weapons he has, with his experience, and I personally, I like Jameis Winston. I think the kid is going to be good, and I think he's going to bounce back this year. So I'm going to put Jameis Winston number 5. So the next guy on my list, he didn't even put up big numbers. He didn't put up flashy numbers. He didn't really even put up great numbers. But the one thing he did was he impressed me every time I watched him. He consistently passed the eye test. And then in the offseason, the team hired a new coach. They got a bunch of weapons for him. And that's why at number 4, I have Mitch Trubisky, the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. I think that this kid impressed me from what I saw because I didn't expect a lot from him. They didn't have a lot of weapons. but he was good, and I thought he was solid. Now, you're going to take a kid with his talent, and you're going to bring in Matt Nagy, who I think is a great choice for head coach, a guy who was under Andy Reid. And let me tell you something. Andy Reid may have a lot of flaws, but you know what? His coaches, they know how to coach quarterbacks. They know how to coach offense, and Matt Nagy's going to come in and do a great job. They go out and they get Allen Robinson. They go out and they get Trey Burton, who is a tight end, by the way, that I believe is a Pro Bowl caliber tight end and is going to explode, in my opinion, for the Bears this year. So they go out, they add weapons, and they already got Jordan Howard, my man Tariq Cohen. They got weapons around this guy. And the way they're treating Trubisky really reminds me of what the Eagles did with Carson Wentz. So I really like Mitch Trubisky a lot, and that's why I have him number 4 on this list. Now, the next guy on my list is a guy who belongs to a team that will be doing battles with the Eagles for the next 10 years. It's going to be a great rivalry. You can see it in the making. And this guy also, you know, he's proof that you need good players around you, good coaches around you. You need those things for a young quarterback to develop. And you may have a quarterback with a lot of talent, but if you don't have those things, they may never develop. So at number 3 on my list, I have Jared Goff, okay? Jared Goff is number 3. Now, if you remember his rookie year, many people said, Jared Goff, that guy's going to be a bust. He threw like 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 7 interceptions. I don't remember exactly how many, but Goff had a bad year. He didn't look good. What happens? They go out, they get Sean McVay. He comes in, he changes things around with the Rams. They get some weapons, they draft Cooper Kupp, and he comes out and they have a great year. He throws 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, get to the playoffs. And then the Rams go into this offseason feeling good. They get even more weapons. They go out in free agency and spend a ton. Now they got a really, really talented team. They got guys like Brandon Cooks. They have Cooper Kupp going in his 2nd year. They got Todd Gurley. When you got Todd Gurley, you already got something there. So they got a lot of weapons, the Rams. And he is going to go out, and he's just going to have to prove that he can win the big games, you know. It's very important for a young quarterback to progress. So you get what you do in your first year, but what do you do in your 2nd year? Is it better than your first? And is the next year, your 3rd year, better than your 2nd? If you're progressing, you're going the right way. And Jared Goff is doing that, and I expect him to do that again in his 3rd year. So at number 3, I have Jared Goff. So at number 2 on this list is a guy I am totally fascinated with. I'm not going to lie. This guy, I could not get enough of him. I loved him in college. I loved him in the pros. And watching him go toe for toe with Tom Brady was just amazing. So at number 2 on this list, I have Deshaun Watson. Now, Deshaun Watson, to me, was just remarkable. What he did as a rookie, okay, 7 games he played, 6 he started, to go out through 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions was truly amazing. I think one week he had like 4 against the Titans. Then the next week I think he had like 5 against the Chiefs. Then he had like 4 against somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but man, he was so impressive. And it was such a shame for him to get hurt. Now, I gotta also be honest, one of the few fantasy videos I did last year, I said, play Deshaun Watson. I went and played him heavy in like DraftKings and stuff. And I wound up winning $500 because of him. So I really like this guy. And I guess I have personal reason to like him too. But look, I liked him before that. And I think with the weapons he has, like DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller and all those guys, and the coaching staff, I think Deshaun Watson is going to come out and he's going to tear it up again. Now, he's got to come back from ACL, yes. And we'll see where he is. But I think this kid is going to do it. I think he's going to be one of the most exciting players in the NFL for a long time. I can't wait to watch him play. If I know Houston's playing a certain time in the Eagles, I'm watching Deshaun Watson. I love this kid. And I think he's going to go out and have a great, great year. So Deshaun Watson, I have number 2 on this list. So this takes us to the number 1 guy on this list. And that's no other than Dak Prescott. I'm just kidding! Oh, that was funny. That was funny. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Cowboy fans. I just couldn't help it. I just can't help these things, you know? Anyways, the number 1 guy on my list really isn't a surprise. And I think even most people on other teams would probably agree with this. My number 1 guy is Carson Wentz. Now, Carson Wentz went out last year and he threw 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 13 games, okay? Then he tore his ACL, which was a giant shame. He threw his last touchdown pass on a torn ACL, and he helped clinch the division, which eventually led the Eagles to their first Super Bowl in history. So Carson Wentz had an amazing second year, the second best second year of a quarterback ever, only behind Dan Marino, okay? So Carson Wentz went out there and he was absolutely great. Now, he didn't do it all alone, you know. He had a great coach. Doug Peterson is a great coach. It turned out he was. And they went out and they got weapons. They brought guys like Alshon Jeffrey in. And they made sure they put talent around him. They taught him right. And then they let him go do what he was going to do. And Carson Wentz, he can move in the pocket. He can run when he has to. He has a huge arm. He can read defense. He can call audibles at the line of scrimmage. He has and possesses everything. He has the all-around game. He just needs to continue to have success year in and year out. Now, he's coming back from an ACL injury this year. We're going to find out what that takes out of him. Is it going to take him a year? Is he going to come back right away? We're going to see. But Carson Wentz, for all the right reasons, not just that I'm a fan, deserves to be number one on this list. I don't think that that's debatable, and I think that's fair. So that's my top 5 list. Now, I did give the Cowboys, I did prank on the Cowboys a little bit. I'm sorry. I just can't help it. But you're probably wondering why Dak is not on this list. I know that some Cowboy fans are going to ask why. And here's my reasoning. I think Dak Prescott would be number 6, and I basically think he's got talent. He's got all the tools, but here's my problem. Where are your weapons on the Cowboys roster? I don't think you have enough weapons around him. I don't think you have a great coach around him. And these are things going into his 3rd year that concern me about Dak Prescott. Talent-wise, physical ability-wise, all that, I think he has it. But I don't know if he has enough weapons or the coach that is going to make him go to the next level. I see the Cowboys treating him as a game manager, get in 3rd and short, and, that's how we're going to do it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Dak. Because if you had different coaches, if you had any of the 5 coaches that I had in top 5, Dak would be on that list, no doubt about it. And that's the truth. The other guy I want to talk about is Jimmy Garoppolo. I didn't put him on the list. He is a 4th-year quarterback. But he's really young because he's going to a new team. But I didn't put him on there because of the 4th year. And he is another guy I think we have to definitely watch out for this year. Marcus Mariota, I would probably have Mariota like 7 or 8. He had a bad year last year. And he's going to have to rebound and show me something going into his 4th year. So that's my list. I would love to hear your guys' opinions, and I would love to actually have a debate with you guys at some point this weekend or next week. So let's try to do that. I will schedule it, and I appreciate you all watching this. So everybody take care. I'll talk to you later, and don't be a dingbat.